Life finds a way.
Not in this video. Today, I'm going to be ranking the deaths of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movie series. Let's go. As we're getting started, don't forget to go over to my second channel, Video Quiz HQ, to check out a quiz that goes along with this video talking about
Dinosaur roars.
best ways to stay alive when facing dinosaurs is to know which ones you're going up against. And also, don't forget that I did do a ranking of the dinosaurs from the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World series a while ago as well. Okay, let's get into the tier list. We're going to start off in the first movie. We're going to be looking at Jophery Brown, the guy who gets killed at the beginning of the movie, you know, with that awesome scene. Shoot her! Shoot her! That part, that's a great opener for a movie. It's a great death scene, even though you don't see like a ton of it. Like I really, really like how this really sets the tone for like what we can expect from the Velociraptors moving forward. I'm thinking this has got to be an A tier. I can't put it up higher just because we don't know the character at all. So, you know, there's not really any kind of satisfying part tied to that. Donald Gennaro, on the other hand, now this is an S tier kill and probably one of the most iconic kills in the entire series. Getting eaten off of the toilet, right? It gets mentioned in the Weird Al song called The Jurassic Park. It gets parodied in anything that's talking about Jurassic Park. It's got to be S tier. There's no question about it. The lawyer getting eaten, and he's such a cowardly character too. So you're kind of like not that sad to see him go. He kind of sucks. So it's all right that he goes out like this. Man, this first movie really just laid the groundwork when it came to like awesome kills. And unfortunately, it's going to take a bit of a dive as we go through the series. But Dennis Nedry is also going to be an S tier kill. That Dilophosaurus kill, he's getting sprayed in the face, and then the reveal that the Dilophosaurus is in the car already with him in the Jeep. It's just so awesome. And to see like the Dilophosaurus itself go from essentially looking like kind of like a giant turkey, like being like, oh, that's not scary at all, to how scary it is when it's in the Jeep with him. It's just awesome. It's just so good. I mean, go figure. Steven Spielberg is good at making movies. So, I mean, then we have Ray Arnold. His first name's actually John, which I did not remember. This is Samuel L. Jackson, right? He gets killed off camera, but we see his arm. It's probably one of the scariest parts in the entire movie. I think that it's one of the parts that my kids are like, I'm going to cover my eyes for this one. Because it happens off screen and everything entirely, I think I'm going to just be able to put it in the B tier, though. It's so memorable. It's so good. We've got ourselves another S tier here with Robert Muldoon's death at the hands of the big Velociraptor. Right, they're hunting in packs. You get all that set up earlier in the movie where Alan Grant's talking about how they hunt, and it's exactly what they do when they take him out. It's such a good scene. It's been memed like crazy, right? Clever Girl is, I don't know, it's such a good one. And this guy is a character that you actually do like. So seeing him go out is, you know, sad. But you're getting to the end of the movie. People got to start dropping a bit. That's an S tier. And that's actually going to finish off the first movie. So now we're going to go from Jurassic Park into The Lost World, Jurassic Park, the sequel, and the last movie in the series to be directed by Steven Spielberg. Here we get Eddie Carr, a great character, somebody who doesn't get a ton of screen time, but I really like this guy. He's resourceful and he's smart and he's nice and caring, and he's the first one to go out. And so because of that, it really just kind of set the tone. This movie feels way sadder than the first Jurassic Park does, just because like very melancholy over the whole thing. So Eddie gets ripped in half by the two T-Rexes. And so I think this is an S tier too. Getting ripped in half like that sounds, and I can imagine would be just awful, just like the worst. And he's so scared, and he gets killed while he's saving everybody else too. So yeah, it's a great scene. That is such a good scene. Now, as much as you like Eddie Carr, Dieter Stark, you don't like him. In fact, I don't blame you if you don't know the names of these characters. Like, there's a lot of them I had to be reminded of. There's a lot of people in the Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movie series. But this is the guy that gets eaten by the compies. And he's just a jerk. He's tasing them and everything. And so when you see him get his comeuppance, you're like, all right, good. This is good stuff. I'm excited about that. It is almost worse to imagine getting eaten by something so small than like gets eaten by something big like a T-Rex or anything. Again, this is a great scene. I'm going to put this one up in that S tier. It's iconic. It's like one of the moments that people, like, if you're trying to remember what Jurassic Park movie, like if you're not that familiar with the Jurassic Park movies, you're like, well, which one is it? Is it the one where somebody gets eaten by the compies, or is it the one where there's the pterodons? Or it's like that. It's that iconic. Finally, though, we got to get to a death that is not as high on the list, and that's going to be Carter, which is the guy who should have known that Stark was off and about. But he gets stepped on by a T-Rex, and it's in a big scene where there's just a lot going on. I don't really care about this one that much. I think I'm going to put it in the D tier. Dr. Robert Burke, out of all the people who are working with InGen, I think he's the most okay. He knows about dinosaurs and everything. He doesn't want them to get hurt. And with all of that, he knows a lot about them. But he does not know a lot about snakes, obviously, because he gets scared by this snake, which, hey, red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. Red touches black, friend of Jack. You'll notice the coloring on there. But either way, he gets scared by this snake and runs out into where the T-Rex is and gets lifted up, and blood comes down the waterfall. It's pretty cool. I'm going to put it in the B tier, though. Aji is friends with Roland, which is like the big game hunter dude in the Lost World, he's one of the coolest, right? He's so awesome. But Aji gets eaten by a velociraptor. He runs out into the tall grass while he's telling people not to run to the tall grass. So I am a bit confused as to like why he didn't do what he said he should do. But either way, it's a cool scene. You don't actually see him get eaten, at least as far as I can tell. I think it's just like random people we're seeing like get jumped on. But even if we can tell, even if you do see that it's him, the fact that I'm not 100% sure kind of speaks to whether or not it's that iconic. The line, like, don't go on the tall grass, it's pretty good. And something that my brother and I would yell at each other when we were running through tall grass. You do like the scalp, but I think I got to put it in D tier. Because you don't really see it. You don't really see it happen. You hear about it, and it's still sad. Then as they're bringing the bull T-Rex and the baby T-Rex back to San Diego, there's some bad things that happen on the boat. A guy named Thompson gets eaten, and he was like driving the boat, and you see his arm hanging. It's a great moment. It's not as good as Ray Arnold's moment where his arm is there, because it's not like a huge scare. It's more of like a reveal, and to be like, oh my gosh, like something horrible has happened. Even though we know something horrible has happened because the boat just like slammed into the dock. I might have to put this one in. I'll go D tier just because, again, it's cool imagery with the arm hanging onto the wheel. Now, usually I don't like the deaths of characters that are like unnamed soldier, unnamed, and I actually cut a lot of those off of this list because I'm like, couldn't care less about that kind of stuff. But this one I keep in. Unnamed San Diego resident. This guy gets eaten. Love it. He's trying to get into a building as the T-Rex is running down the street. And it just really kind of sells how messed up it is that this is going on. Little piece of trivia, this guy is also the guy who wrote the script for Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park The Lost World. So that's a fun cameo, right? To get eaten like that. And in a cool way, too. A memorable way. So yeah, I'm going to go B tier for that one. Peter Ludlow, the bad guy of The Lost World, Jurassic Park. I don't know. It's kind of off screen. I mean, a lot of them are kind of off screen. But he gets jumped on by the baby T-Rex after he gets yanked around by the big T-Rex, it's very satisfying. You're very much like, this guy's got to go. He's bringing a lot of trouble to a lot of people. I think I might put him in the C tier. It is satisfying to see him get eaten, but at the same time, I don't know. It's not that cool. So now we move to Jurassic Park 3. With this one, we've got Enrique. He's driving the boat. The boat kind of goes into some fog, and then it comes out of the fog, and everybody's dead on the boat, while the kid is all parasailing up with the other guy. And so with that, I don't know. I think it's an F tier. I think I'm going to put this F tier because we don't even know. Like, there's not even really any kind of consensus online as like what got him 100%. So I'm going to go F tier on that. Ben Hildenbrand is next up. He's flying with the kid on the parasail, and he ends up dying. And like essentially either like rotting away in this tree or getting eaten by things when he's like hanging in this tree. We see him when he's like a picked apart skeleton. It's, again, a great scare, but I don't know. I think that it's going to be pretty low. I'll put it in D tier because it's a good moment at least. But again, we don't really know what happened to him. It happens off screen. It happens in the past. We're just finding his remains and everything. And so, yeah. Now, the Spinosaurus was the big bad new dinosaur that comes in, and it does some pretty good damage right off the bat in its first scene. Though we do kind of start falling into this trap of like, let's just put a bunch of people in a scene for dinosaurs to kill. That would get way worse in the Jurassic World movies, but I don't think it quite gets to the point where I'm not appreciating each one of these deaths here in Jurassic Park 3. Cooper is the first guy to get eaten. He's running. He's trying to get the plane to stop, but as he's standing in the way, he's like waving his arms like, stop, don't. The Spinosaurus just runs out and eats him, and like the plane crashes into the Spinosaurus, and then it ultimately crashes in a tree. The shot where he gets eaten is pretty good. It's kind of unexpected. The Spinosaurus is moving real fast, which I do like. I think I'm going to give this one an A. I think put this one in A tier. I think the Jurassic World 3 kind of gets a bad rap. I think it really is probably the third best Jurassic Park movie. Jurassic Park 3 is just like a fun roller coaster. And so it knows what it is. I don't think it's trying to be anything extra with that. So you just kind of go along for the ride. It's got a talking dinosaur in it. It's obviously not taking itself too seriously. I know it's a dream sequence. You don't have to remind me. All right, so back to the killing, though. Nash gets pulled out of the airplane, the fuselage, right? And then the Spinosaurus, like, its head off, pretty much. I guess you don't see that part. Kind of hidden behind his leg a bit. It's pretty messed up. The guy's, like, trying to crawl away as he gets stepped on by the Spinosaurus. It's good. It's really good. I think this is going to be... I'll put it in A tier. I'll give it another A tier. In fact, we get to the last death in Jurassic World 3. Like I said, not a lot of them. And that's Udesky. He gets killed by a velociraptor. He's kind of getting used as bait. He gets attacked, but he's still alive. And they're like, oh, we got to save him. And they're like, no, he's bait. And then the raptors realize that they know what's going on. And they just kind of like snap his neck. So it's messed up. It's the guy from Air Bud, too. I don't know. Anybody else ever think of him as that? It's so funny how movies you see as a kid, like that person stays that person forever. This guy is the bad guy from Air Bud, the guy who owned Air Bud before he became a basketball player. He dresses up like a clown. Anybody else? Am I the only one? Please tell me I'm not the only one. If you remember this guy from Air Bud, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to put his death right up there with Ludlow's in C tier. They seem very similar to me. And then there was a big wait between Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World. Luckily, we don't have to wait very long. Here we go. Nick Kilgore, he just gets kind of like yanked up by the Indominus Rex. So I think this is like a D tier death. I'm going to say it right here. I think the Indominus Rex is really lame. It's cool design. I think it looks cool. But the fact that it can like talk to all the dinosaurs and like kind of control them and turn invisible. It's just like all the things that a little kid would do if they were designing a dinosaur. It's like, yeah, but this dinosaur is the boss of the dinosaurs, and he can turn invisible, and he's the biggest and the strongest. It makes for, I don't know, a fine movie, but it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would create this thing? It's smarter than the people. And then we get Nicholas Letting. I like this guy. I think he's got a good look. If I was going to play any character in Jurassic Park movie, it would probably be a guy like this, right? Just some guy who's kind of schlubby, hanging around wearing a hard hat. I think I can pull that off. He's hiding behind a car. The car gets flipped out of the way, and then just like plucked up off the ground by the Indominus Rex too. I think that this death is actually pretty funny, kind of in the way that it's played out. But I like it. I'm gonna put it in A tier. Then we're gonna get to a scene that I kind of mentioned earlier, where it's just like a bunch of soldiers just getting killed. Now these guys all do have names, not because they get spoken. We know what their names are because they show up on a board and we watch them flatline. So they're not actually characters that we care about, but we can kind of tell who gets killed by what and everything. So we got Hamada. This guy gets pretty much like everything you can imagine, like squeezed and stepped on. And yeah, he's in a bad spot. I'm going to give him a C tier death. Cooper, he gets thrown into a tree. I think he's boring. This is just like, look how cool and powerful the I-Rex is. isn't it awesome? It's killing all these mercenaries. I'm like, no, not really. I'm going to put it in F tier. Craig also gets thrown into a tree. That's going to be another F tier for me. Now with Lee, doesn't get thrown into a tree gets knocked over onto him. Now that's some innovation, right? That's another F tier. Spears, he at least gets eaten, so that's going to bump him up to that D tier. Miller's death, actually, I'm going to move up to C tier. I think it's pretty cool that it's like the I-Rex is running at him as he gets eaten. And the movie continues with this unnamed, unknown characters getting killed just to kind of stack the body count. It's something that sequels to horror movies do too. I'm looking at you, Scream 6. I'm looking at you. But, first we have the unnamed ACU gunner. So this guy, like, falls out of the helicopter and gets, like, swooped out by, like, a pterodon. To be fair, we don't know how he dies. He could fall. He might get eaten. I'm going to put it in D tier. The unnamed ACU trooper, though, who's, like, in the helicopter and gets stabbed in the chest, though, that guy, that's a cool death. I like that one. I think I might put that one up with B tier. Simon Masrani, like the big CEO dude who like runs everything or who's like pays for everything. He's flying a helicopter. The jokes the entire movie is that he doesn't really know how to fly a helicopter. I mean, the guy does all right. I mean, I don't know how anybody's going to do the circumstances he's flying on. But when it comes to his death, you don't actually know exactly when he dies, but he's definitely dead by the time the helicopter explodes into a giant fireball that the I-Rex is running away from. So it gets played as laughs, even though like everybody in the control room is sitting there and it's like shocked horror. But I think I might put it up into like that B tier too. I think I like it. I kind of like it. Now, Zara Young has probably the most iconic, memorable death in Jurassic World. That's when the Mosasaurus jumps up and eats the pterodon, right? And you just feel bad because this lady, unlike some of those other characters, was like, oh, they're doing bad stuff. Like, Stark, he's zapping the compies and everything. And you got Ludlow, he's just a real jerk. But this poor lady, she's like planning her wedding and everything. And they're like, let's just destroy her. And so she gets picked up into the air by like the pterodons and everything. They're falling into the water and they're just jumping down to spear her and everything. And then the Mosasaurus jumps up and eats her and the pterodon. It's memorable. I'll give them that. It's crazy. I don't know how good I feel about it. I think I got to put it in that S tier. I think this is the last S tier death, really. Because for me personally, it's just all kind of goes downhill from here. We do have one more death in Jurassic World, and that's Vic Hoskins, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. This guy is no Kingpin, I'll tell you that. This guy's a weirdo. I don't like him. He wants to use the raptors to like go into caves and kill people. I'm just like, this is the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life. So yeah, this guy gets his hand eaten and then blood sprays everywhere. And yeah, I think I'm going to put him in C tier. So then move into Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And here I definitely cut a lot of deaths, unnamed people that I don't care about at all. But these are the few that I still have in here. So let me know if I cut out one of your favorites in the comments below. Jack is the name of the guy who's hanging on to the ladder as the helicopter's flying away in the opening scene. They barely get away from the T-Rex, and then the Mosasaurus jumps up whomp, and gets him. It's pretty great. I'm going to put it in the A tier. It's a good moment. It's a fun moment. We get another F tier kill for sure, though, with Lockwood here. He gets pillow smothered by another person off screen. So it's probably the lamest thing to happen in a Jurassic World movie. So yeah, that's F tier for sure. Ken Wheatley falls into that super annoying, messed up hunter dude. He's the worst version of it out of all of these guys. He's like yanking teeth out of sleeping dinosaurs to keep on his necklace and everything. Great actor though, right? We got Buffalo Bill himself, or like what? He's the police chief on Monk. Again, anybody? I watched Monk before I saw Silence of the Lambs, so he's always going to be Stoudemire, right? That's his name on Monk. I'm just pulling it. I'm not going to fact check it. I think that's his name. So yeah, I mean, the detective from Monk is a bad guy here. He's also Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. And he like gets his hand eaten off and then he dies, right? So, he's whatever. I'm going to put him in B tier. Gunnar Eversole. This guy should have got eaten by dinosaurs for the fact that he's selling dinosaurs for so cheap. It's the one part, like, I can accept dinosaurs existing. I can accept the science behind that, whatever, in the movie. But when they're like, we're going to sell this Ankylosaurus for $5 million, and that's what it goes for, like, that's not even the starting bid. It's like, excuse me, what? I shouldn't be able to realistically be like, well, maybe we could pull together with a few people and then, like, maybe we could get a loan and we could get a dinosaur. Like, that should never be something. It should be so far out of the realm of my possibilities and my comprehension. But they're just like, whatever. He gets eaten in an elevator. Whatever. That's a D tier. This Dan guy, though, he gets like kind of yanked off screen by the Indoraptor. Yeah. Whatever. That's going to be an F tier. Now, Eli Mills. What a just awful, awful character. I don't like this guy at all. Now, I'm not supposed to like him, but I don't even think I don't like him in the way that I'm not supposed to. He does get eaten, which is fun. He gets ripped in half, kind of. Like, the T-Rex is flinging him around and, like, pulls him in half and then kind of flicks half of it to another dinosaur to eat. And I'm just like, all right. It doesn't hold like anywhere near the emotional impact of like the Eddie Carr death where somebody else gets ripped in half and everything. It's not satisfying like with the Ludlow death, really. I don't know. It's whatever. This series really kind of drops off for me. Hey, you like it, that's great. I'm not telling you can't like something. I'm just sharing my opinion. I will put this in C tier though because it's kind of cool. Rain Delacourt is going to be the first death that I talk about in Jurassic World Dominion. Only going to be 3 deaths here that I'm even going to mention. There are a bunch more, but again, people that we don't know, don't care about, and so I'm not gonna rank them. And so you can just let me know in the comments. I would love to hear if I missed one that you're like, this was obviously the best death in the movie. Let me know. So this guy, he gets like his hands chomped on by like 2 dinosaurs as he's like chained up, and then Baryonyx comes and like eats his head. So, I mean, we don't like this guy, but he dies pretty early, like for a character like this where you're like, I hate this guy, he's awful. But it is pretty satisfying, especially the little dopey dinosaur like chewing on his hand. I think I'll put it in C tier. Now, similarly to the guy getting eaten in San Diego, this unnamed scooter guy, though he is unnamed, it's one of the coolest kills in the Jurassic World half of this series. And so I'm going to be putting this guy in the B tier. He's just like on a scooter, and they're just like, I think it's Allosaurus. It's just like, whomp. It's so good. But yeah, that's a B tier for sure. No, you know what? I'm going to go A tier. We're doing A tier. And then lastly, we got Lewis Dodgson, who, you know, shows up in the first movie, played by a completely different guy, and is like, why does this need to be the guy? Because it's a name that we recognize. He's getting chased by Dimetrodon, right? And he gets into this subway car thing, but then there's some Dilophosaurus in there. And it's trying, I feel like, to be like the Dennis Nedry scene, right? We hadn't seen the Dilophosaurus since the first Jurassic Park, and so they're trying to do another scene like those. And because it's so much like that first one, you can just tell it's not as good at all. There are 3 Dilophosaurus, and they're all kind of like looking at each other before they do anything. They're like, oh yeah, this is the bad guy, and we're going to spit him in the face, and then we're all going to eat him. And it just doesn't play like for me. It's kind of just draws it out and everything. So maybe I just finish on like a real angsty note and I'll put him in F tier. What do you think? No, let's be fair. The Dilophosaurus do look really cool. So I'll put it in C. I'll put it in C tier. C tier. And that is going to be the tier list. Hey, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Getting back to doing a lot more tier lists over here on the channel, and also going to be tying in with some quizzes over on my second channel, Movie Quiz HQ. why don't you go check that out too, and maybe throw a subscribe over there as well. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hope to see you next time as we are going to be talking about some more movies and everything.